Hey everybody, how are y'all doing today? My name's Decent Treatment, host of the Electric Airship podcast. Right here, we're all about spotlighting the great creators in the JRPG and RPG Maker indie dev community. Check it out.
Hey everybody, you might feel bamboozled today, and I want you to know that's okay. We've got an enigmatic artist here for you, a very accomplished one, creator of surreal realms, prints, fine art paintings, and some super cool ink on canvas pieces, bringing the democratic medium of print to Steam and itch.io with Copper Odyssey, and as of 3 months ago, the beloved sequel Museum of Mysteries. Please welcome Cam Collins, aka Emma Watson, aboard the Electric Airship podcast.
Hello, thank you. Nice for having me. I can't believe you know the Emma Watson thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, everybody that's a part of the RPG Maker
No, thank
Discord,
you.
so
Awesome.
yeah. Um, yeah, so I'm sure you have a very interesting answer to this first question. How did you get your start with gaming?
I think it was, again, I think like 2 or 3 years old is always like vague memories. There's this one snowboarding game on Game Boy Color. It wasn't Shaun White, it was some other guy. But I remember Incredible Crisis on the PS1. Have you seen that? The cover?
Incredible Crisis?
Yeah,
No, I
and
don't think
there's
so.
the cover, or at least the American version, is like all yellow, and there's a red head that's like blowing up on the front of it. I always love the font. I love the font. I love the face. The cover is perfect. The game, I don't think I ever got too far in it because again, like 4 years old or whatever.
Right.
But I remember the boulder part in the introduction very vividly. Just a lot of cool stuff. I think that game has kind of wormed its way into my brain somehow. I only just started thinking about it again like last month. So this question is
Really?
actually pretty apt. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, you said it was called Incredible Crisis?
Yes, Incredible Crisis.
Awesome. So, does this experience still inspire you today, playing this game?
Probably not intentionally. I think even if I wanted to forget about it, I couldn't. I just think it's wormed its way into my brain. So I'll say,
Hmm.
yeah, sure, it does still inspire me. I think everything I see is pretty inspirational, though. Everything has some value, whether I like it or not. I can't help it.
Word, word. So, you might not be the biggest fan of the game nowadays, but it has been formative to you, the way that you see video games in some way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, everything I'm a fan of, everything I'm not a fan of, I think it goes into your brain regardless. And if I forgot about it, then I've forgotten about it, unfortunately. But I
Right.
think it stays. Yeah.
Okay, right on. So, you said this isn't really your taste anymore. What has changed in your relationship to games over the years?
I would say, I mean, I've gotten really more into like an arcadey style of gaming. I forgot what happened when I was in middle school. I got into Smash Brothers Melee a lot, and I skipped like it feels like like time skipping. It feels like I time skipped past like 6 years worth of like new gen gaming and stuff like that. So when I finally got a laptop, I had a Mac and I couldn't really play a lot of the computer games, but someone told me how to like emulate arcade stuff. So that was like
Hmm.
really my only option. So I played a lot of bullet hells. I'm gonna say a bunch of gobbledygook. That sounds ridiculous. Donenpachi Daijo. Oh my god, Battle Garega is awesome. Ketsu,
Ooh.
Kizuna, Jogo. I forgot the last word. Mushihime sama. A lot of cave bullet hells because you couldn't play Toho stuff on the MacBook, at least in my efforts. So anything I could emulate is pretty much what I got, and arcade games are the easiest for me to emulate. So that still kind
Interesting.
of stays with me today. Just a lot of bullet hells and oh, Tetris for sure. Any game where like I can die and then stop playing it is terrific. I don't like open I don't like open world or open ended.
Right.
I
You don't
played.
like the sort of like the sort of addictive loop, you know.
Yeah,
Uh
no. Um, I mean,
you just want to be like, okay, well, I died, I'm done, you know, tomorrow I'll pick it up, get a roughly the same experience, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. That's my friend actually recommended Dark Souls to me, and I did try it, but I gave myself a rule to like only like do like one life per day. So like if I died, I wouldn't play it again until the next day. So
Mhm.
it's kind of fun for me. It adds more suspense to it. But yeah, just
Yeah, yeah.
arcades, just arcade stuff. I like score. I like score. I like numbers a lot.
I dig it. Yeah, there's something really cool about that approach to something like Dark Souls, you know,
Mm,
just kind of like stopping and you know, appreciating the experience. I feel like a lot of people just let these things, you know, wash over them completely, right?
yeah,
Uh, and you know, there's so much art that goes into those games, so much intentionality. It's good to
always.
hear that somebody's appreciating it. Uh, yeah, right on. Cool. So lots of bullet hells. Lots of sort of old emulated stuff. Did you gravitate toward a specific system?
Um, I mean, I guess with arcade machines, I don't really know the system too well. I I mean, I would
Sure, that
just
makes
consider
sense.
it like MAME, really. I don't know what hardware they
Right,
were using specifically for those cave bullet hells mainly. In terms of
right.
consoles,
That's like Neo Geo type stuff, right?
there was there was I think I played the Neo Geo version of like Metal Slug and stuff like that
Hmm.
because that's just kind of what you had to do. But
I dig it. More about the game than the system. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I never really took too much into consideration. I I don't have any like big nostalgia stories like that or anything.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, that's cool. I mean, like, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
That's
no, no
not
problem.
what I would have expected. You know, I play Copper Odyssey and I think like, oh, it's got to be like Shin Megami Tensei or Persona or something like this,
Hmm.
right? But yeah, so it's interesting to hear that your roots come from a pretty different place.
Oh yeah, no,
Um,
my last big JRPG I played was I think in my memory, my friend's probably gonna say, "Well, you played that, didn't you?" But no, I my last memory was Final Fantasy VI when I was like 9 years old, maybe. I love Final Fantasy VI. Um,
hmm.
I
Oh yeah, me
I
too. Total classic.
yeah. I think if I tried playing it again, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if I would like it all that much. It might be a bit dated, I'm not sure, but I love my memories of it, so I'm just going to keep that intact.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. I played Final Fantasy VI for the first time like I want to say like 5 years ago,
Oh, nice.
and yeah, they had the Pixel remaster had just come out, and there's
Mm,
such a vibrant modding community for it.
yeah,
So you can really refresh the game and like bring it up to a more contemporary quality standard, even.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So if you ever want to return to it, there's always that option.
good
But
to know.
yeah, good times. Yeah. So moving on to Copper Odyssey, right?
Mm,
For those of you guys who don't know, Copper Odyssey is kind of a surreal Shin Megami Tensei-esque RPG Maker game. It takes place in a giant printmaking studio, and it rides this interesting line between comedy and profundity. Um, you said something in the original Copper Odyssey devlog. Some of the game is ugly, but you temper
yeah.
this statement with an excitement to just get the game out there, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
so
mean,
cool.
yeah, thank, thank you. Yeah, I was just being
Yeah.
honest about it. I think I had gotten too far into the game to want to change everything, right? Because there's always that sort of thing where like, oh, well, I could change the sprite. I'm gonna do a whole redesign of everything. Oh, I'm gonna whatever. But I was just like, I want to move on to a different project, so I'm gonna finish this and see it through and put it out there. If I want to make a better looking game, I can just make another game. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what
Word.
Copper Odyssey 2 ended up being later on. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you just wanted to get it out there in some form of completion, huh?
Yeah.
And
Oh
that's
yeah.
so refreshing. Like, I mean, a lot of people, they're just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to keep working on this game, keep, like you said, redesigning sprites until it looks like, commercially legit or something, right?
Mm,
Yeah. So, like, how do you know when something is finished in Copper Odyssey?
I think for that game specifically, I was just very I wanted to have the ending, right? Because I did find myself getting into a loop of just like adding a lot of different stuff. Um, and I kind of had to like shut myself down from adding more because it's like, okay, well, we need to end it. Like, it'd be cool if we ended it. And it kind of got to a point where someone asked to play it. They're like, "Oh yeah, I saw you're working on this game. Like, can I try it out?" I sent it not really expecting anything. This is the first person that like ever tried it.
Hmm.
And they send me a message like 2 days later, like, "Oh yeah, I beat your game." It's like I didn't even I didn't know that that was even possible at the time. Like I put
Mm-hmm.
everything there. I put the ending there, I put the credits there, but in my brain, because of the kind of open-endedness of the game, I didn't really imagine it being like really finished. But that message gave me like a lot of support. I don't know if they knew that, but that really
Just the
cemented
idea
it
that
for me.
somebody, like, moved through the entire game,
Exactly.
found a way to get
Yeah.
through it.
Exactly. Right. I'm like, okay, a human that's not me got through to the end. So that means I really do have to finish it and put it online. So I put some finishing touches on it, and that's kind of when I knew it was done, so to speak.
Wow, that's awesome. So it was something about seeing somebody else consume the game, play through it, get something out of it, uh, that got you out of your head.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
Huh.
if you're ever unsure if your game is done, well, again, this is going to be different depending on what game you make, right? But in my case, I had like a very open-ended kind of hub world game, so having someone get through it is kind of like my way of seeing if it's completed or not. Again, that term is debatable. I think a lot of games come out unfinished, but people still enjoy them anyway. uh, I think both Copper Odysseys are kind of examples of that. So
Word. Wow. Okay. Cool. That's a very insightful answer. I'm sure a lot of people will get some value from that. Um,
thank you.
yeah. Oh, okay. Excuse me. It's time for the sponsor break. Hold on for just a second, Cam Collins. All right, guys. So I've got a confession here. I've got a confession. We are a bit of a video game publisher here at Electric Airship. That's what funds all the cool stuff that we do here on Electric Airship. And so, if you want to support us, the best way to do that is to log on to your Nintendo Switch console or your PlayStation 4 or 5 console or the Xbox family of consoles, and you just purchase Kaiju Big Battle Phyto Fantasy. We're trying to, you know, build an infrastructure for this beautiful community that's just served me my entire life. Check out this trailer.
Do you like wrestling and live-action Monster of the Week shows that had very real monsters and not guys in rubber suits at all? Then this RPG is for you! Kaiju Big Battle Fight the Fantasy! Based on real-life monster wrestling group, you'll fight through a time-traveling adventure chasing nefarious Dr. Cube through locals like ancient Egypt and exotic 1970s Boston, Massachusetts. This game has it all. Slay a muscle-bound mummy. Rescue a lost monster heroes. Adopt so many cats. Oh. And, of course, fly through time in a disco ball home-based space fortress while chasing down the nefarious Dr. Cube! Kaiju! Big Battle Fight to Fantasy!
And that's that. It's available now. His store links are at electricairship.com/kaiju. That's electricairship.com/KAIJU. That's you, because I love you that much. All right, Cam Collins. Let's get back to the meat and potatoes of this here endeavor.
Onto the narrative, you seem to value ambiguity. Your stories, they're maybe more discovered than told. How do you balance that narrative style with the natural need as a designer to guide players through an experience?
Well, like the architecture, and I mean like the literal architecture of Copper Odyssey 1, where I based it off of a real life building that I kind of did my print, because I was a print studio monitor, right? And I just kind of built the building as it was in my head. And of course, real life isn't like a video game as much as many people want it to be. So once I had, characters walking around and stuff, I kind of edited it. I would adjust it to feel better playing it and whatnot. And again, that takes a lot of testing and whatnot, so that was a while. In terms of ambiguity and I guess the nature of the game, I usually just boil it down to how would it be if I was in this situation, right? When I'm the print monitor, how would I go about this? And, if there were 4 thieves around the building, there wouldn't really be like a linear answer for me to get them, right? I would be a monitor and I would choose which floor to go on to try to solve first. So I think that's kind of just how it ends up. You're honest with yourself and the game will make itself. I think the game has more control over itself than the developer thinks. If you try to be a control freak about the game all the time, then you might end up with something that feels a bit contrived, I guess. So
Interesting. So you're comfortable giving a lot of that control to the player. The narrative is almost shaped by the nonlinear exploration. That's fascinating. So you say you kind of like let the world tell its own story.
yeah, for sure. And I think the main character, I still want to kind of give some clue, right? But if you're playing as the monitor who kind of runs the building, let's be honest, then there aren't going to be a lot of characters that are telling you what exactly to do. Maybe that could be seen as a disadvantage for the game, but I'm kind of thinking, how would the world be for the monitor, since you are the monitor? And that's where I get my answers.
That does make a sort of interesting dynamic. It's rare to see a protagonist that's as empowered as, the monitor or Celeste. So, yeah. Interesting. Cool. You also seem to have an interesting perspective on difficulty, not minding much that the player can easily be killed.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you could just die. Like, your whole party can just die. It's wild. And so you talked about this arcadiness earlier. It's kind of a confident departure from JRPG convention. What do you think it is about your combat implementation that works so well with open-ended, non-linear exploration?
I think in my brain, I'm kind of thinking of like, I guess there's sort of a snowball effect, right? Where if you don't know what you're doing, then yeah, you're gonna get stomped. But once you monitor more, once you do more printmaking for a bit more, then you know what you're doing, and you just get stronger and stronger, and you don't die. I'm okay with quick deaths. I think it's fine. I think it's kind of fun. I think as much as people, I think some people genuinely don't like it, but I do think dying in a game and getting punished in a game is very exciting for a lot of people. It tickles their brain, people like to be teased and thrown around and tossed, People love to get punished. At least I do, right? Because of the arcade thing. So I think it's fine to hurt people playing the game, so they can die
Yeah.
fast. I'm okay with that.
There's something about that surprise, like, oh, I just died, right? Like, there's a lot of impact to that moment, and it makes you reconsider the situation you're in.
Yeah, or you can just try to not do it. You can kind of reroute yourself. I know for Copper Odyssey 1 particularly, and this is kind of, I will say, kind of a fail on my end. It's really easy to accidentally get to like the hardest zone in the game, the Black Garden. And that's definitely of my own fault with the architecture. I wasn't really thinking of the routing for that too much. Again, this is kind of getting to like detailed nerd territory, but people accidentally just go
The
to the last
podcast is
zone.
for detail nerds.
Okay, thank you. The initial quote unquote first zone, Seymour Cyan, is on the first floor, which has the intaglio room. But because you start out on the bottom floor, the ground floor, and you get Bad Girl afterwards, you can leave and then to your right, because gamers want to go right, because right is the progressive direction. Usually they'll go immediately top right and then into the secret like Black Garden entrance. Again, that's like a secret entrance, so they do that and then immediately get destroyed, and then the momentum is killed because they're like, oh, you just die way too quickly in this game. So you can either muscle through it and find a different route, or people just assume that that's the first boss of the game.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, not many people think of video games in that sort of, oh, I failed, maybe I should look in a different place
right,
mentality,
yeah, exactly. So again, that's a huge gamble on my part, but it's also because I wasn't really considering that. That's one of the things in Copper Odyssey 1 where I might have done something different, but that's how it is, that's what the game is. Maybe another time.
Yeah, right on. Well, I think it makes for a far more interesting play experience that it does something different.
Thank you.
Yeah, like trusting the player, giving them, a little bit more agency in the world, trusting them with that agency. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
And I wish more JRPGs would do that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's just fun. It's fun for me to make it. I think, again, this is a bit selfish on my end, but it's more fun for me to make that kind of game. There's some debate on like, oh, is linear harder to make, or is open-ended harder to make? I would say, and again, I'm really biased because I like the open-ended stuff. I think open-ended is really difficult because you have to reconsider every option of what someone might want to do. And this is why testing is really important. And I have really good tester friends. So again, shout out to those guys. I have super gamer friends who really do
it's
try
good
to
to have
just,
super gamer friends.
yeah, who just try to break everything. And that's good for me too. Copper Odyssey 2, I did way more testing because there's just more stuff in that game than 1. But yeah, again, test. You have to test always.
Yeah, there are so many things that you wouldn't consider in designing a nonlinear world. Like, just the smallest thing could really throw the players in the completely wrong direction. Like, I also design nonlinear games, right? When I released the first demo for my project, people just wanted to interact with every NPC,
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, why do you want to expend the dialogue with every single person? There's like 20 people in the town, right? I figured they just, get some information and then explore a little bit, right? Come back. But I don't know. I guess if the option is there, oh my goodness.
Oh, sorry. It's my pet cow. Well, what happened?
There was a pet cow on the screen. Anyways, God, goodness gracious. Yeah, what a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, so, sorry, God.
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so they just want to explore through an entire explore the entire town, when in reality, the intended loop was to have them, go explore, come back,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I ended up having to like have more people enter the town as the players progress, and like
Right. You have to
make
deal with like
certain routes look a little bit
variables,
more visible.
conditional branches all
Yeah.
the time, and yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, definitely can empathize with you there. It can
For
be a lot to
sure.
test that stuff and get it working, but it is a lot more fun to design a game like that. It feels more substantial.
Yeah. You could work like all
Yeah.
day on just like 3 characters, knowing when they pop up or something. At least in my case, maybe I work slow, but I uh, just one little change ends up being like 5 different things I need to fix.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. You never know how one thing is going to affect the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Word. So, goodness gracious. Fans of your game might be surprised to hear that you're also an established contemporary artist. Copper Odyssey 2 and some accompanying works are currently being exhibited in Chicago's Fine Arts Building. It's one of a string of large Cam Collins exhibits in recent memory. Congratulations, that's huge.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game thing,
What?
I'm so shy about Copper Odyssey, so sorry, I interrupted you.
No. Yeah, you're shy about Copper Odyssey.
Yeah. So
Like,
for
do you
it to be,
not bring that out into the forefront as much as one might expect?
yeah, no, usually not, especially when it was just Copper Odyssey 1. I kind of kept that as like a joke for the longest time, like a joke secret. Because again, this is like it was my first time doing a whole game kind of thing. And also, like you pointed out earlier, I thought some of it was pretty ugly. Because in my brain, I looked at it, I'm like, well, I could totally do better than that. So I kind of keep it on the down low, so to speak. Copper Odyssey 2 was I should say, a lot more thought out, at least for me. I enjoy looking at Copper Odyssey 2. I think it's a bit more reflective of what I can like accomplish. Um, so that being said, I had kind of told some people about Copper Odyssey 2. They asked to see it. Someone wanted to see a whole like information slideshow about it, and that person ended up being the kind of owner of this gallery, the Center for Mad Culture, which is located within the Fine Arts Building. So
Oh, okay.
that's how I got their opportunity for it. I told them more about it and kind of my motivations with it, and they decided to have me show the game there. It's their first ever like exhibit like that, you know. And I think video game exhibits are pretty rare in general for, pretty good reason. There's a lot that can happen with those, especially dealing with like interactive art in any kind of space.
Yeah,
So
totally. What if somebody just like exits out of the window and they're like looking at your Steam profile or something?
oh my god.
That happened to
Luckily,
me once. It was insane.
oh wait, did you use your own computer for the exhibit?
I put my
Oh,
own
okay.
computer up at this demo event, and somebody
I
had been
see.
like going through my Steam. It was wild.
Oh no, I see the temptation, but no, for this exhibit, there's it's a like loaned computer that we have, and the file's just on there. Um, it
Right on.
they made a specific like they kind of modified a desk just for just for like projecting the game onto, which is really nice. You have a mat and everything.
Wow.
I should send pictures of the exhibit because there's a lot of like little work put into it that I appreciate.
Yeah, I'd love that. Did you make any adjustments to the game for the gallery?
Yes, absolutely. It's its own version of the game. I took out all the battles, um, and so by extension, I took out all the enemies. But the addition, I guess, is that all of the enemies from the museum are now pulled into the real world via phototext. Do you know what phototext is?
No.
Photo tex. It's they're basically like big stickers. If you've ever worked with like vinyl or something like that, it's basically vinyl except non-damaging for walls. So
Oh, right.
phototext,
Okay.
big sticker. So I printed out. We have the assistants of the gallery. They did image descriptions for all of the monsters, like every single one. Shout out to them again, because they did a phenomenal job. They did clinical descriptions of every enemy in Copper Odyssey 2. And then I
Clinical.
formatted them to, yeah, clinical as in like just very objective,
Ah, I
very
see.
observational within like
Right.
2 sentences or so.
Mm-hmm.
No like interpretation, no trying to be funny, nothing like that.
Cool.
And I would take the descriptions, format it underneath the enemy, we print those out, and then we cut it up into squares. And me and my close friend who's visiting from out of town, they helped me put it up together on all the walls. So, it's good. It's cool that there's a game in the gallery, but I also wanted something for people to just kind of look at if they weren't playing. So on the wall behind the computer projection, all of the enemies are there for you to look at and read the descriptions of. So, yeah.
Right.
I
Wow.
kind of. Oh, sorry. I was
That
listing
is so
adjustments for the
cool.
game. I got carried away. All the battles are taken away. Celeste has a different outfit. I made a special outfit for her. Because in the main game, she's wearing kind of like apron, kind of like printmaking outfit. Because in her brain, she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing printmaking work in the museum for some reason. But for the museum, I had it more specifically like Celeste spring wear kind of fashion look, wearing denim jacket and skirt. I care about fashion a lot, so
Oh, word.
um, let's see what else.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
I had to edit a lot of the NPC stuff, um, just because there would be conflict or things that would like start a battle that I had
Right.
to take away. I have to edit how the time works because um, time in the game works differently. Like, how do I explain it? When you beat a boss in the game, the time kind of progresses.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to take away how the bosses interact with you, but also add a little time machine. I made a little time kiosk with like sun and moon on it and everything. It's really cute. It looks like a little carnival thing. And you could
Oh,
just
sweet.
change the time of day there. So you could still get the 3 different endings while only touching paintings. So yeah, that's it.
Mm. Gosh, that's interesting. Um, so it's a completely different version of the game. Will it ever be released to like internet people, or is it solely for the gallery?
Solely for the gallery. I do not think I will be releasing it publicly.
Makes sense.
I just kind of want to keep it to the gallery edition. Again,
Right.
I think if people want to like ask for it or something, in a special case, I might give it to them. But I do want to just keep it very specifically for that gallery since there's some other information in there that's very catered uh, to
Right.
the
Okay.
show itself. It has like the sponsors and the funding for it and everything within the game because I want to give special thanks. So
Right. So stuff that's not necessarily relevant to the source game itself,
yeah, it's a
more to the
very
show.
specific build. It's a very specific build for the gallery, you know.
Hmm.
So I had a lot of time to prepare for it. So I did want to make it like a special event.
Yeah. So it says here, the exhibit is presented by the Center for Bad Culture, right?
Yes.
So could you tell us a little bit more about this organization?
Yeah. So, and I don't think it's too new, but they usually show work that's catered or made by like neurodivergent sort of artists, people like a lot of people with disabilities or things with just kind of focusing on the whole mental aspect of things. You know, the idea of quote unquote being mad, right? You know, like mental mad. So that's
Right.
really it advocates for that kind of thing. Um, and the gallery owner, they kind of saw it in Celeste, you know, but also me to a degree. I won't talk too much about it here, but um,
Hmm.
you know, just circumstances all around. It just fit for Copper Odyssey to be there. You know,
Hmm.
especially if you think about the. I mean, I'll give you one little hint. You know, the sun in
Right.
Copper Odyssey 2.
Yeah.
That's like one aspect of it. They talk a lot more in the gallery version of the game, actually.
Oh.
Uh, so yeah, just things like that. It's really just a unique opportunity for any discussion of the idea of being mad, you know, having any sort of mental change with you. I
Hmm.
think that's a
Right.
good gallery for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so awesome that these these special voices are being given a like a intentional platform to be heard. Um, that's awesome. Uh, so I know you said you don't want to speak too much about this, right? But does your relationship to this concept sort of influence the I guess your broader gameography or like the way that you create your artwork?
I the, so I guess I could say so, right? Because all of I mean the whole world is called the way of the canvas, right? And I think I finally got a grasp on how to talk about my artwork just a few years ago, really, where I don't see it as me coming up with the ideas. To me, it's like the characters are telling me about the world, and I'm just kind of translating it for them, right? I'm like a middleman. There's a term
Hmm.
for it. Like I'm like a scribe, basically. So any of those drawings I do, any of the games I do, it's pretty much me making it for them because they want to talk to Earth. So
Hmm.
that's how I see it. I'm just like a middleman. I do create it, you know, my my handiwork is part of it all.
Hmm.
Um, but something like, you know, Redman or Copper, in all of Copper Odyssey, all of the drawings I do, those are they have their own life, and
Right.
I just kind of help them come to Earth.
Right. Okay. So you believe that there the powers that be uh, are communicating through your hand as you draw.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
awesome.
kind of it's a circular relationship, right? Because say I have a blank canvas that I'm drawing on with a Sharpie pen in my hand, as it usually goes. I start with a face, and because that face now exists, that face on the canvas knows more about what's on the canvas than me, right? They know more about it than me. So I think I'm kind of asking them, what is the rest of the story? Like, why do you exist right now? And they can tell me. And then as they tell me, I keep drawing more and more and more. And, you know, I'm learning a lot from that character. I'm learning more about the world. They're like investigations, I guess. That feels like a really pretentious word to call them. So I don't call them investigations. But it is me just kind of figuring out more about the world through drawing. So I have to
Wow.
draw. I have to do it.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
That explains so much about your artwork. You know, they do definitely feel built around these sort of confrontational, like very serious, dignified faces, right?
Mm.
And yeah, it's that just explains so much. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, of course. No problem.
Yeah. Um, wow. So the description of your show mentions humans as a physical artistic resource. What does this phrase mean to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the bigger things of the way of the canvas world, where how do I explain it? Well, humans are part of a bigger scheme, right? Whatever that bigger scheme is, we don't really know. But I think in the world of Copper Odyssey, in Way of the Canvas, people do know their fates, right? Um, Two humans coming together, they create an angel. Angels go to, up there, they go to heaven, whatever, Celeste is from heaven. And once they're up there, they look down at the world, and when something goes bad or something, someone needs help, then they have a miracle come down and help them. Um, all the devils, they're just made of blood from the humans. So you do need the humans' blood to keep the ocean there. Um, and then the devils use the junk from the ocean to create new things for the underwater. And there's just a whole ecosystem there that
Right.
requires humans' life and death to be utilized. It's a very utilitarian world. And again,
Right. Definitely.
I'm still researching it myself. Again, I sound so silly saying that, but I daydream about it every day. Anytime I'm not talking to someone, it's usually on my mind.
Yeah,
And
as
I
you should.
think in that world, it really is just humans as a resource. I mean, I think that's indicative. Like, it's kind of reflective of real Earth too, right? Um, there, I think we can all think of like specific moments or current events where humans really are just uh, resources for whatever needs to be made at the moment. You know,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who you ask, you can figure out who they see as a resource. So, you know,
Right.
and I mean, I'm just a resource. I'm just kind of translating stuff for the world.
Hmm. Hmm. That's an interesting perspective for sure. Um,
Thanks.
yeah. Goodness. Yeah, it's really tied into the foundation of your this game world that you've been investigating. Um,
Mhm.
that's fascinating. So, I'd like to ask, do you see yourself continuing to present games in traditional art contexts?
I think so. The world of the, Way of the Canvas, Copper Odyssey, more specifically, is really about art. Everything is kind of centered around that language of it. Black and white and red. Even Red Man. It's handled in a very like literal visual way that I don't think at this point is escapable. I would have to do a lot of legwork to reject the idea of artwork in my world. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it would be necessary legwork. I think it would be really
Oh yeah.
weird for me to do that. So I'm just gonna keep that around. And they say write what you know. I've been part of the kind of art institutions and art world for a super long time. And
Mm-hmm.
me writing about this world is just writing about what I know and how I see it, you know. So
Hmm.
it's how I go about it. I'm
Right.
around artists. I like art. I like to look at art. I like to critique and reevaluate art. I go to a lot of art galleries. That's kind of just my
Naturally.
community. So I figure I'll write about it in a way that I know how to.
Yeah, it's just very topical to you, so naturally it comes out in your artwork.
Yeah.
Um, but needless to say, given the opportunity, you'd like to um, put your games out into a gallery space, if you know, again.
Yeah, yeah. If that opportunity arises, for sure. I think Copper Odyssey 2 is pretty unique for that, in where it does take place in a museum, which is already extremely synonymous with artwork and whatnot. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very uh, CO2 can actually be a very calming experience if you decide to not get into any battles. because again, open world, like very open-ended. Um, and in this time in Copper Odyssey 2, the enemies are visual. You can try to avoid them if you want. You could just touch paintings all day. Um,
Right.
and I think that kind of play, that type of gameplay is suited for a museum. There's a lot you could do with that. I don't know what my future games will look like, more or less, but if there's ever like a desire to have a game in a museum, I'm sure I can cater to that, like I did with Copper Odyssey 2. I don't see why not.
Yeah. Awesome. So you're very involved with contemporary art in general. What do you think these contemporary art people could learn from games?
I guess there's always the argument of like, oh, don't look down on us gamers, as a lot of people like to
Mhm.
do. I mean, I guess there's that, but I think that's kind of, that doesn't really matter all that much. I think everyone's kind of caught up with uh, games as a medium, and even then, consider this. I had to adjust Copper Odyssey 2 for the gallery, right? I had to kind of, and I don't mean this in a negative way. I had to kind of neuter the game. I had to take away the parts that might be considered too hard for people. I had to
Mhm.
take away the combat to put it in the museum.
Right.
So I think that says something about me. It says something about the game, and it says something about the gallery space. Not that specific one, but in general, right? The idea of a gallery space as a whole.
Mhm.
Um, so I think what they could learn is, I mean, I guess I don't know what they could learn specifically. People can learn whenever, but I don't have a really good answer for that, actually. Sorry to say.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly valid. Um, Needless to say, though, there is a very big difference between these audiences.
Yeah,
Gamers being
yeah,
more willing to put up with the friction, and gallery people maybe wanting a more passive experience.
right.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I guess gallery mode is still in a very like passive state, and I honestly think it's just kind of manners to know what kind of space you're putting your work into, right?
Hmm.
Some galleries don't want a certain type of artwork. That goes for like fine art world in general, or I mean, I guess any kind of space, right? You're not going to put, um, I guess you wouldn't put an abstract artwork in an architecture art show, right? Which
Hmm.
those are a thing, by the way. I love architecture galleries. I love seeing buildings and building plannings and everything like that, right? That kind
Oh
of
yeah.
thing is really cool. But again, that's a space for that type of artwork, and I think it kind of goes for games too. If there's a gallery that isn't really looking for uh, very skill heavy, fast paced games, then you wouldn't submit your game to that, right? You would submit it to a place that does expect that kind of game.
Right.
And right, it's really just kind of knowing what you're
Sure.
submitting to, knowing what you're kind of having. Again, just being context context heavy.
Right.
Just
Yeah, that makes sense.
like being mindful.
Hmm. Yeah, every gallery has their own focus and everything. Maybe the
Right.
skill heavy games are meant for a different space than galleries entirely. Uh,
Right. Yeah. I mean, arcades. Arcades,
yeah,
they're a type
totally.
of museum. And watching a guy who's really good at the game, they'll have a crowd behind him watching to see, like, oh, wow,
Hmm.
I didn't know that guy could do that. Oh, that's so cool. Right.
Yeah.
That is a
Well, that would
museum
be
in a
cool.
sense.
Yeah. Imagine like putting your game in an arcade cabinet, right? That'd be sick.
Oh my, right. So, yeah, Copper Odyssey 2. I wonder. I, I personally see. I'd have to make my own adjustments to make it more suited for arcades. I think that'd be cool. But
Hmm.
my brain and my heart are telling me to just make an entirely different game if
Right.
I had to do an
Naturally.
arcade cabinet. Again, context sensitive.
Hmm. Right.
But
Right.
yeah.
So, what about the other way around? Can games learn something from the fine arts people?
I actually do. Yeah. And again, maybe maybe this is a bias, but I do think um gaming is a pretty like young medium, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. And I think, and I say this kind of unfortunately, I do think a lot of people who play games, or as we call them, gamers, like some weird species,
Right.
they'll say, well, games are art, so that's the kind of art I like. I don't need to look at other art, right? They kind of they kind of pinhole themselves, they box themselves in. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
in a way it makes sense because, you play games when you're younger and you just kind of, you have already created this box for yourself to just only play games, right? Kind of like what
Mm-hmm.
I did almost. So, and I think there's class in that too. There's some classism involved. There are all sorts of reasons that, art is just different than games, geographically, socially, financially, right? It's a totally different world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, no brainer. I think a lot. I think gamers can learn from fine arts in general, but
Yeah. You mentioned class. Speak more on that.
well, not everyone. I happen to live in a place where, there's a museum. I lived near tons of museums. I worked in a museum too at one point. I
Mm-hmm.
that's like geographic privilege. I'm in a place where I can do that kind of thing. I can travel to that. Not everyone has that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
like that's just how it is. Some people don't have enough money to travel to go to a place like that. Some places just don't have a museum at all, but they have games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me to kind of just sit here and say, well, you should totally go to museum because you'll better yourself. It's kind of I'm kind of just telling them something that they don't really have much control over,
Right.
and
I
even
hear
if they
you.
wanted to, they just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I do think games are very accessible. I think games are more accessible than, museums, right? Just geographically speaking, if you own a computer, if you own a phone, you can play a game of
Mm-hmm.
some sort, right?
Right.
Um, if you have a web browser, you can look at paintings, you can look up paintings on web browser and things like that. You can get an art book
Oh, but that's
for
not the
sure.
same. You don't
Right, it's
get
not the
the
same as a
luster of the
museum.
pigment.
Right, yeah, yeah. Luster of the Pick, going to a geographic space, it is different. I do think it is like very different to be in a physical space with artwork. And that's just like, and again, that goes across mediums too. Some
Right.
people will argue with me in an arcade space where they're saying, well, you'll never know how Donpachi Daiojo really plays because you haven't gone to the arcade in Japan, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like, they're right. I haven't gone I haven't been to Japan to play the arcade machine.
Mm-hmm.
I won't know how it plays until I go there. And if I am privileged enough to do that, then sure I will. Um,
Right.
but again, different circumstances for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Word.
sorry, I had a whole long-winded thing about it. But basically, I'm saying for sure you would learn something from paying more attention to fine art. I think opening your brain in general is good. It's not good to write things off. I don't know what age I stopped doing that, but I just don't write anything off. I think everything has value.
Hmm.
That's
That's
why the
big.
game is about printmaking.
Right.
I was in a print studio and I decided to make a game about printmaking of all things. Something about it was just really compelling to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's like this interesting parallel between, printmaking, zines, and that sort of accessibility to the masses, and
Right.
like an RPG Maker game that can run on virtually any computer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have nightmares of RPG Maker MV. Working hard. I mean, some people in the community might come after me about it, but Working with RPG Maker VX Ace was a lot more fun than working with MV.
Interesting.
It's
I
I
am
think
a diehard MV person, so
no MV is awesome. No, MV is awesome. It can do anything. I do believe MV can do anything. It has a lot it can do, but I mean like actually working with a program of VX Ace, pressing the buttons, the user interface, everything about it just feels a lot more snappy for
oh
me.
yeah.
Adding Steam achievements on VXS was very like simple.
hmm
Um,
Oh, it's a whole
I mean,
runaround. You want to do that in MV, you got to use the Internet Archive, talk to some weird
yeah,
guy on the internet, like it's a big deal.
oh my god, I have a whole nightmare. I get a headache just thinking about the MV Greenworks Orange Works Huddle
Oh
thing loading
man,
actually.
don't even get me
Yeah,
started
yeah,
on
no,
that. Oh, I hate that
it's
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. That was a night that was so crazy. It's a whole wild goose chase of everything. Like, oh well, which Steamworks version do you need? Yada yada. And it
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like people either get it first try, or it takes them like a million weeks to do it. Like it did for me. I was in a constant state of like detective mode for 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, me too. Me
Just
too. I feel like the people that
try.
get it first try, they're like they just know somebody that knows how to do it, right?
Yeah,
Um
usually. Well, I see. I knew someone that I thought knew how to do it, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I just use this, this, this." I do it, it doesn't work, and then they're like, "Oh well, I don't know." So after that, you're like, that's when you know
mhm.
you have to just get into the weeds about it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. MV it can be a bear to use, but at least it's not MZ, right? Um
yeah, I mean, I haven't touched MZ. I don't use RPG Maker through Steam. I just use
mhm.
the application. I got it from the site directly.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, because
Um
I don't want Steam interfering with files and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm paranoid about it.
yeah, and it's handy that you can open up multiple windows. In the Steam
Yeah.
version, they only let you open one instance of RPG Maker, which
Oh,
is
really?
like
Oh,
ridiculous.
right.
Speaking of your MV project, let's talk more about your new game, Copper Odyssey 2. It feels like a continuation of the first game, but also a deepening. How would you describe what most distinguishes it from the original?
Oh my God. Like pretty much everything. I think it actually would have been a smarter move for me to not even put the two on it. I should have put Copper Odyssey Museum of Miracles instead of Copper Odyssey 2, but that's fine, whatever. That's branding moment for me. Um, the visuals are a lot more fleshed out. I enjoyed the visuals of CO2 more. Making the sprites was kind of a pain, but whatever. Let's see. I think the story is more coherent because I have a lot more confidence in my writing.
hmm
Um, let's see. I mean, it still has some, I guess, what some would call Copper Odyssey isms,
Mm.
but I don't know what that means because to me that just means I'm like in my brain I think everything is like totally normal about Copper Odyssey. A lot of people seem to think it's like weird or out there, and in my view, it's just very like simple and normal. There's nothing really too crazy about Copper Odyssey, writing wise.
Yeah, to you, it's not weird. It's just you wouldn't be able to say what a Copper Odyssey ism even is. It's just sort of
Yeah,
like it is what it is, right?
right. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's how the characters are. They make up the world, so uh, that's how I see it.
yeah,
As
definitely.
for the
So like obviously the graphical upgrades, the battles look a million times better. Like the writing is great, awesome. Yeah. So was there a part of the project that felt personally risky to create?
Celeste, I'd say the entirety of Celeste is pretty risky in general because I base the protagonist usually on how I'm feeling at the moment. So I know for Copper Odyssey 1, I felt more like monitor, and that's when I was a print monitor. I think with Celeste, um, I don't want to say I felt small, but I was getting bothered by like the sun constantly, not because of the heat or anything, but it was interfering with how I was looking at humans and stuff like that. You know, the whole humans as resource thing. That's kind of
Right.
part of where that came from. And I, there's not really much else for me to say other than you know, Celeste. Yeah, Celeste is the riskiest part of CO2 for me.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like that, that tracks. That tracked to me as a player when I was playing through CO2. That this character might be a sort of a self-insert in a way. Um,
Yeah, yeah. In a way, that's a pretty accurate thing, I'd say. Like in a way.
right. Yeah. This sort of Celeste has this interesting knowing, that she's created the world in some respects. Um, like how does this sort of meld with your personal perspective? Um,
Well, I'm trying to think. I think I based that more off of how angels might interact. My
mhm.
favorite magic system in the world, or I guess in fiction, is The Shining. Have you seen The
Right.
Shining?
Yeah. Great movie. I've seen it a million times.
Yeah, I love that broad idea of just like you kind of know what's going on. It's sort of like visions.
Hmm.
There's something like really beautiful about it to me. And I kind of just wanted Celeste to kind of have that. Also because she's kind of just like rejecting the whole idea of her being an angel, right? She'd rather be a human, whatever that means to her, right? But a lot of the magic is kind of still there as a whole. Because then at the end, to her, it's all like printmaking. So her justification for it is like, oh, well, it's just respecting the craft, right? Like what I'm doing is the craft and nothing more than that. She doesn't see it as a big deal, really.
Right. Yeah. Gosh, that's fascinating. Um, yeah. So she's very understated about this whole thing, despite having this special ability. Um, Interesting to hear that that's sort of inspired by The Shining. Definitely, that tracks.
Oh, I love Kubrick. I love Stanley Kubrick. There are a
Hmm.
bunch of references to his movies in CO2, actually.
Really?
I put a bunch, yeah.
Yeah. What's your
The
favorite that just comes to mind?
the gamut, the clothing store with the blue shop lady owner,
Uh,
in the red floor and everything. That place
right.
is based off of Rainbow Fashion and Eyes Wide Shut. By the way, I'm not really that much of a fan of Eyes Wide Shut. Sorry, guys. But
Eyes Wide
the
Shut. That's one that I
scenes,
haven't seen.
I think it's his last one before he died.
Uh,
I think it's a bit date. Anyway, sorry, I'm not gonna get into it. But
mm-hmm.
um, I like a lot of the scenery in that movie, and I wanted to use that particular kind of like shady clothing store as a thing that exists in CO2. So
Right. Okay. That's so cool that you've paid homage to Kubrick's last film in that way. Yeah.
yeah, there's a bunch more, but if you notice them, you notice them.
Right. Right. Definitely. So was the concept of a museum important? Like, what does that mean in your work?
Oh, well, for me, it just seemed like a natural progression, right? You go from a small print studio to bigger art place. The whole Copper Odyssey 2 thing was actually going to be a lot different beforehand. I think a year before I started making it, I had the idea of like a curator being the main character, and the curator would have to make sure that the art stays inside of the paintings and everything. But I think I forgot when I came up with Celeste to be the main character, but it just seemed like a natural progression because, a nice continuation of CO1 if you played it. And
Right. Yeah.
as for the museum, again, I was in more of a museum space. I was in a different place, geographically, and I based the museum in CO2 off of the museum that I kind of walked around in. And that was,
Okay.
yeah,
So it was
that was
based on
pretty
like a
much.
real world experience.
Oh yeah, a lot of things are just based off real world to me. I real world has like all the interesting stuff in it. I like real life a lot. I like Earth. It's very cool. It has a lot of good stuff. So I just use that. And then if I test and it doesn't feel right, I just edit it for gameplay. So that's how I go
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Gosh, one of my best art professors said like the beauty of art comes from, just like an imitation of reality, right?
Mm.
Um, so I think there's some, something profound about that statement. Yeah. So when somebody leaves the Museum of Miracles, what thought, what question do you hope they carry with them?
Uh, ooh, that's a good question. Uh, I guess if there's more to do in it, yeah, I think that's a nice question. Like, is there more for me to see in that museum that I didn't just see? I think that's cool. If I ever leave a space, I want to have that feeling.
Yeah.
Because the museum itself that I based it off of is pretty big, and although I think I've been in every place in the museum, I'm sure there's stuff that I've missed, or stuff that's going to be changed later on, or stuff that they've hidden in the basement for years and are now going to put up after a
Right.
while. A lot of those museums, they have whole basements, um, whole just free ports full of artwork that's never going to see the light of day, right?
Right.
And then once in your lifetime, they might bring it out for a special exhibition because the artist has been dead for 100 years or something like that.
Right.
And again, all of what I just said could be seen as a critique of the museum system, but I also think it's kind of a weird inevitability. I don't know. Maybe that's me being hopeless about it, but that is the nature of a museum. You're bringing up dead things to life, and you're putting like a lot of life back into a basement all the time. And I think
Right.
that's kind of a weird negotiation that you have to have if you do run a museum or a curator of some sort.
That's pretty damn
So,
good. That is a hot take. Um,
oh,
I like that.
oh.
um, yeah. Gosh, I'd never considered it that way. But yeah, a lot of the art that you end up seeing in these museums, uh, they're things that artists made a very long time ago.
Right.
Definitely, not topical to them nowadays. The artist might even be dead. Um, wow. Um, what a vibrant perspective.
I love both living and dead, right? That's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
that's the kicker of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm largely inspired by like a lot of the you know dead people Renaissance paintings. I love those.
Oh,
I'm not gonna
naturally.
sit
Yeah.
here. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about, oh, they're objectively better or whatever. I don't care. I don't like that argument a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy. I enjoy both old and new. And like I said earlier, there's value in everything. So whatever the museum wants to take out for the day, the year, the century, the millennium, um, I'll see what it is and I'll take it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I dig it. I mean, I go into a museum, I'll be amazed by the Van Gogh or, you know, the Degas or whatever they have up, right? And then, I'll go on with my day. But it is interesting to hear this perspective that, in some respects, you know, this is a bygone era. This is you know, it's a dead artist, dead artwork. Um, And yeah,
It's like a little
uh,
graveyard.
a little graveyard. Yeah, there's something very, very alt, very goth about that. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. I like
Yeah.
that. Let's move on to some maybe conclusive questions here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Beyond Copper Odyssey 2, Copper Odyssey, which of your projects should more people be checking out?
Oh, and the Mall series. I
Oh.
I don't know if you've heard about. That's on itch.io though.
Right. This is the first person dungeon crawlers.
Yeah, as the first-person dungeon crawler, there's the Gardener game where like you walk around and plant flowers just intuitively. Those are my only other game projects. Um, I'd say if you follow the Copper Odyssey Twitter account, you'll also see like a lot of my comics on there that I post. I'd recommend reading those. Uh, Again, that's just more like world stuff. And I always try to post everything I do there as well. Just Redman is, as you can see on the camera here, is really a little entity of his own.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna take a moment to say you guys got to go read the Redman comics on Cam's website because they're wild and awesome. They add so much to the game experience.
they should be on my website and also on the Copper Odyssey Twitter account as well. So
Nice.
whichever platform you want.
Yeah. Cool. What about upcoming projects? You got anything that people can get excited about?
Yeah, I'm making another mall game.
Ooh.
Uh, and those are usually like smaller, more or less committal, because I'm kind of like burning off the energy from the big Copper Odyssey game, right? Um, but these past months have been really busy for me, and I haven't been able to work on the new mall game as much as I want to. But I'm happy to. I'm really happy about getting more into old world stuff. And again, I do recommend reading or watching Way of the Canvas. I should have mentioned that in the previous question. Way of the Canvas, you can find that on YouTube, or you can download it on Gumroad, whatever you need. That will tell you the fundamentals of the world of Copper Odyssey. It gives you just enough to like make an OC, original character if you wanted. You can kind of know the context of everything. But yeah, my next game will focus on old world. I'm learning how to. I'm just learning more stuff. There are a few games I want to make, but I haven't made enough of it to say that I'm working on it. If that makes sense. There are ideas that I'm very interested in doing,
Right.
but
Okay.
it's going to be a while before I can confidently say I'm really doing it.
Right. Yeah. You know something's coming, but you're not sure what yet.
Yeah, or no, like I know I know for sure what it is, but I need to learn how to do it. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Right.
one of those, you know.
Ah. Yeah. You mentioned in a previous interview, like maybe exploring new engines. Is
Yeah,
that a
oh
part of this?
God. Yeah, I am exploring a new engine. Also, I remember in that interview, I talked about using Godot for Copper Odyssey 2. Uh, Newsflash, I mean, spoiler, I didn't. But also, I worked in that engine for like 2 months, and I realized, oh wait, I'm trying to make an RPG Maker game in another engine that's not RPG Maker. I might as well just use RPG Maker. And that's
Yeah.
the conclusion I came to for Copper Odyssey 2. So, I, I
Yeah.
I very much just want to use whatever engine can get me into making something, right? I just want to do it. Um, and I think that kind of goes into I guess, people really caring about the whole professionalism angle in the RPG Maker community. They're like, oh, does it look professional enough? Yada yada. Oh, I feel like a dummy for using RPG Maker. It's like as long as you can make your game, uh, I'd say just do it. Like you just have to start. That's really the big deal. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of
Whatever gets
I
it
have
done.
to, yeah, whatever gets it done.
Hmm.
And I I have to say that to myself again when learning a new engine, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm so comfortable in RPG Maker that my brain is saying, oh, well, let's just get it done in RPG Maker. But my brain is like, well, no, we can't use RPG Maker for this idea right now. So just try to learn something new, right?
Right.
That's where I am. I'm in that weird no man's zone
You're in
right now.
negotiations right now.
Yeah, I'm in negotiations right now, but I am doing the next small game in RPG Maker. So,
Okay, I dig it.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, you started speaking to, maybe people out in the ether, looking to make a game, do what works
Mhm.
for you, right? Um,
Yeah.
but beyond that, what's your advice to these aspiring people who really want to cross that bridge into making games as art? People who want to express themselves in an oft commodified medium.
Oh, they have to start. I think a lot of people ask like, "Oh, how do I make a game? How do I make a game?" Um, I think if you're asking that, you might want to reconsider. There are so many options on how to make a game that you could just Google it. Oh, that's one big advice I need to give. Learn how to Google, learn how to ask questions, things like that. But definitely learn how to
Mm-hmm.
Google and find stuff. I know Google is just filled with like tons of AI answers nowadays, but
Mm.
take a Google, look at the RPG Maker forums or forums of whatever engine you're trying to use, and try to get it from there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but really just start. That's the biggest trouble people have with projects, especially like a lot of younger people. And it's
Oh
because
yeah.
they're scared. They're scared of starting the wrong way. They're scared of setting up things the wrong way, quote unquote, the wrong way. Everyone's worried about doing things the wrong way. Um, Maybe I don't know how to speak to what causes that. Because I've been worried about that too, right?
Mm.
It's fine to be paranoid, but you really do just have to start, and you can, yeah, that's
Yeah,
really it.
I
Just
dig it.
start, and that's the hardest part for so many people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Just start, learn how to research your medium, and get rocking and rolling.
I think if you're solo working by yourself, you probably don't need to do as much planning as you think because you're not giving the plans to someone else. It's all you.
Right.
It's all you.
Yeah.
You can just start the engine and get right to it. No matter how much you plan, you're going to have to probably change it 90% of the time anyway. Once you actually start testing your game, you're going to realize, oh, wait, I should have done this. And then you have to redo it anyway. I wouldn't even
Hmm.
bother with the, I mean, getting some notes is fine or whatever, but speaking from experience, you're probably going to be changing a lot of things anyway mid development. So really just get
Yeah.
right to it.
Yeah, video games are very amorphous,
Yeah,
Like, yeah, what
absolutely.
if what if you find that players just don't get how to get through this one part? But that's like
Yeah.
important to your creative vision, right? Maybe you have to change it. Or maybe like
Yeah, or you just change it or you just
yeah, or
realize
maybe
it
you have to
looks
change
ugly.
everything around it, right? Like it's,
Yeah,
you know.
there's a
Yeah.
lot you might just have to do. So
Mhm.
having a whole plan and concept art and
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I actually did this a tiny bit. I had a whole design for Celeste beforehand or whatever. I remember I did something like that and I caught myself a week in and I'm like, what am I doing? Like just start start the game, or kind of just pleasuring yourself off of your own ideas. Like but you want to see it out in the world, right? So you have to
Right.
really start. You have
Yeah.
to do it.
Well, I mean, there is a certain inspiration and drive you probably get from that too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like if you
Like
want to see you want to
establishing
do
this is what the player character looks like, it gets you really excited to actually do the weird
absolutely.
math.
For
Um,
sure, right? And I do think that's the one benefit I can think of from it, right? Where you draw
mhm.
it and you're getting inspired. I know for me, um, like music is pretty good. If once I get a musician to do a song for the game, like Lintillion, that's kind of when it's more cemented in my head what space might be like.
Hmm.
So
Right. Oh,
yeah,
music is huge. Shout out to
yeah,
Lintillion, by the way.
yeah. Shout out to
Uh,
Lintillion, and there are a lot more musicians on Copper Odyssey too as well.
oh yeah,
Crazy Goji. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. I had to do some music myself.
that's
Crazy
awesome.
Goji. Crazy Goji did a lot of the credits songs. Uh, who else?
Sweet.
There's a whole credits of, but I had to get a smattering of musicians for Copper Odyssey too.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, huh? That's a perfect transition, right? Because now we
Yeah.
got some fan questions from your community, and the first
Yes,
one from Happy says, "Do you listen to music?" What?
I do.
Yeah, right. Okay. What's your favorite album or artist that you enjoy listening to?
I like Emerson, Lake, and Palmer a lot.
Hmm.
Do you know them?
I don't know them.
They have an album called Carn Evil 9, Progression 1, Progression 2, and Progression 3. I really like that whole album of Carn Evil 9. It has a big skull on it. You'll see it. Um,
Okay.
I also really like Jurgen Knieper, Jurgen space Knieper. He did the soundtrack for the movie River's Edge. That movie, that movie's kind of silly, but the music in it is really good. I found more of his stuff and I really enjoy it. Um,
Okay.
what else?
Cool.
Yeah, a lot of I was listening to Stevie Wonder like 2 weeks ago too. I really like his stuff.
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
That stuff goes deep. You know, there's some. It's
Yeah,
not just the greatest hits. There's some good songs out there.
yeah,
Um, Sweet.
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of prog
Next
rock
question from the
too.
fans. We got
Yeah.
DG. You mentioned before that a lot of your characters are inspired by your experiences in a print shop. What led you to make Monitor and Celeste protagonists in the Copper Odyssey games?
Well, monitor for Copper Odyssey 1, I was a Print Studio monitor, so that just seemed like the natural decision. Okay, so really, how that kind of came about, I had made the building first. I had made the Print Studio first in RPG Maker. And then I was like, well, I need someone to walk around as, right? Like, I need a character sprite. So I just made it Monitor because Monitor would be the one to walk around the building all the time, right? And the characters are from like little comics that I would make when I was in the print studio. I would, all the walls are so gray and boring. I'd put comics up to help the kids kind of know what to do. And Monitor was one of the characters who usually stood in as the Monitor. So Monitor
Hmm.
seemed like the natural choice. Copper Odyssey 2, uh, Celeste, I think, is the opposite of Monitor, where she's put into a space that is not hers. She doesn't really know what she's doing. Even when she does do it, she doesn't really know what she's doing because she kind of refuses to know what she's doing because she doesn't want to know
Hmm.
about angel magic.
Right.
Um, and the way she talks is very, I don't know how to word it. She's just very kind of alone. I give
Hmm.
her, I I draw her eyes in a very specific way to kind
Hmm.
of show that she's like tired most of the time. But
Right.
at least to me. But yeah, I just think they're two opposites that happen to work really well. I got really lucky in that. And again, that's the characters working in the world, and I just happen to kind of catch on to that. So
Right. DG also asks, are there any significant experiences in your life um, or stories that led to your decisions about these characters?
Celeste, I would say the summer of 2023. Yeah, summer of 2023. Big Celeste fuel.
Hmm.
Monitor, I would say when I first became the monitor of a print studio, I was given the keys without even knowing what to really do. Because I was new to the building, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're gonna be here this summer, right? You're gonna be here." in the summer of
Mm-hmm.
2018, whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, well, can you monitor the building, please? It's a job, you can monitor it. Like, oh, okay. I didn't really know how a lot of it worked, but like in Copper Odyssey 1, you kind of just have to start and get better at it as you go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Cool. I dig it. That makes sense. Totally. Um, Inconic asks, have there been any scrapped ideas from any of your projects that you'd like to revisit someday?
I guess revisit. I don't know, but I'm trying to think if I'm trying to, because I do this thing where like I kind of have like a brain shredder, right? So any scrapped ideas, they kind of just go into a shredder. They go into like an incinerator at some point. So I might not even remember what I decided to just get rid of.
Ah, there he is again.
Yeah, he's hungry. I'm I have some abandoned ideas, but I think I did bring them to life at some point. I know Artie from Paper Mall. I call her Artist in Paper Mall, but she was the original main character of Copper Odyssey 2. No, I think she was the villain. I can't remember. But I redrew her for Paper Mall, and yeah, and now I just call her Artie. There's a bunch of old ideas, but they're kind of just, I think in my brain, they're just existing as normal things and not rejects.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So the unused ideas, they're still a part of this expanded universe.
Yeah, so it's hard for
Yeah.
me to even consider them unused. So it's hard for me to know, really.
Right. Ah, I like that. Um, yeah. So they might come out in a side game like the Mall series,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
maybe a
Those are
future one.
usually
Who
more
knows?
experimental. Yeah, those are
Right.
always more experimental. So,
Okay. Cool. Asura asks, I guess this has already been answered. Will you ever revisit the first-person dungeon crawler approach from Paper Mall? So probably yes.
maybe probably yes at some point. Uh, I will tell you, Parlor Mall is not that. Parlor Mall
Oh.
is different. Parlor Mall is different, but it is not a first-person dungeon crawler. But it is not turn-based either. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. That's very exciting. Okay. Renaud the Third asks, favorite dessert?
Just a really, it's so boring, I'm sorry, but just a really good chocolate chip cookie is like prime. I love big chocolate chip cookies. I love
Oh yeah,
bags
bigger
of
the
chocolate
better.
chip cookies. Oatmeal chocolate chip cookie, very good. Um, Either that or a milkshake, chocolate milkshake. I really like chocolate a lot. Just in general, I like chocolate a ton. So yeah, just a big, nice chocolate chip cookie is my favorite dessert.
All right, great answer. Classic. G asks, who out of all of your characters do you think you'd get along with the best?
Oh, get along with the best. I think Wacky, but that's kind of a cop out answer because Wacky gets along with everyone, no matter who it
Mm,
is. I think, uh, I think Monitor, such a really basic answer, but
right.
Monitor, I
Monitor
think,
seems
and I would
pretty
just
pretty agreeable.
mesh well.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe Gardner too, actually. I think Gardner would be a fun
Oh yeah.
hangout.
Love Gardner for sure.
Yeah.
Um, what about your mortal enemy?
Mortal enemy, Redman. I hate Redman.
You hate
He's
Redman? Everybody loves Redman.
I mean, he's awesome. Like he's awesome, right? But okay, if I was in the world of Copper Odyssey, I think Redman is a monster. I think he's terrible. Um, he's no. I think he's not good for the world.
Wow. Huh.
He's not good for the world. Sorry to Solfi. Sorry to all the fans within the Copper Odyssey world who are big fans of Redman. I think
That's
he's
mind-blowing.
poisonous. I think he's
Redman is
poisonous.
poisonous.
I think he's very iconic, right?
Oh yeah,
He's a big
iconic.
part of the world. He's a big part of the world. But if I were to be in the world of Copper Odyssey, I do not think I would like Redman at all.
But then you just get Redman, right?
Yeah, right? So
there isn't really space for your perspective, and maybe that's the bad thing about him, right?
yeah, no, that's the bad thing about it.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Cool.
there's a lot to it. So
Count Zacula asks, "What are your regrets?"
What are my regrets? Honestly, I got brought it up. I wish I had named Copper Odyssey 2 just Copper Odyssey Museum of Miracles to avoid people thinking that they need to play 1 to play 2. I think you could play either. But that's not like a really serious regret. I'm gonna be honest. I don't regret much because usually if I do something wrong, then I can just have another go at it at some point. Or me getting something wrong just adds to the story of something else. I don't, I value little experiences, so I don't mind.
Yeah, no regrets, only happy accidents.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nair asks, "What is your favorite hobby?"
Hobby. I like to walk a lot. I like Tetris. I play chess sometimes. And again, I'm assuming that they mean hobbies that aren't drawing, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I like chess. I like taking walks. I like Tetris. I like donating blood. That's a good. I don't know if you could call that a hobby, but I do it when I can. I like to donate blood.
Probably satisfying knowing that you've done something good.
Watching movies. I like watching movies a lot.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Favorite movie?
I love movies. That's favorite movie. Mad Max Fury Road.
Ooh,
That's
that's
the
a
first
great
thing that
one.
came to my mind.
Yeah.
Mad Max
Okay.
Fury
Right
Road.
on.
Then Goodfellas. Those are my top 2. Oh, American Psycho. That's another one.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you're into the cinema. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Lego Batman also super good. I don't know if that's like top 10, but I think that's a solid, really solid movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to look at my Letterboxd again. But...
Right. I dig it. Lego Batman. Okay, putting that on my to-watch list.
Oh, totally watch. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Okay, cool.
It's the best Lego movie.
I dig it. Okay. So Squigs asks, "How did you learn to draw?"
I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. I really just like to look at stuff and redraw it if I could. I remember my first drawing was like of a toothbrush and toothpaste when I was like 3. It's framed right now, so
That's cool.
But other than that, I have had like training, right? I did some art classes when I was in middle school, and then high school was very art based. And then I went on to college and masters for printmaking. So yeah, I'm pretty formally trained in that regard.
Okay. Sick. Very cool. Count Zacula also asks, "What is the monitor's full name?"
I'm glad that's actually being touched on, because all the characters do have like real names, but in that world they just kind of go by their career jobs or like choice of occupation. So I would not say monitor's full name. Sorry, it'd feel really gross. Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's just like not appropriate for the world.
Yeah. I think it's actually a hidden text. It's an alt text on like a post on the Copper Odyssey Twitter from like 2 years ago. where I do have all of their real names, but I don't remember where or when it was posted, nor do I remember how to even see alt text on Twitter. So it's kind of just buried there.
Right. So if you really need to see, you can hunt it down on this old Twitter post, but you might feel a little bit dirty afterward.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty
Right.
much.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
A asks, where do you get the ideas to create the characters and enemies from the games?
So Copper Odyssey 1, the enemies are all based off of printmaking tools and processes, like nitric acid, the measuring table. I think there's a weight bar. There's one based off like a torch. Those are all things that you have to use during printmaking. Again, depending on the studio. If you ever work at a print studio, you're gonna have to like relearn whatever tools they're using, because in my experience, they're all pretty different. They all have their own rules. Copper Odyssey 2, all of the enemies are based off of artists that I know, artists that are dead, artists that are living. They're all just based off of art. I think a few of them are based off of like little exercises that I've done for other events, but I'd say 95% of them are just artist references.
Fascinating. Devi asks, what inspired you to use RPG Maker to make games?
It was immediate and just kind of there. Like I said, I just wanted to make a nice little pixel recreation of the print studio that I worked at, because I think it was 2020 COVID stuff, and I wanted to just have something done for fun. I made the building, and RPG Maker was very like intuitive, very simple. So again, just do it. That's the lesson. Just do it. Get to the engine. I didn't even have any like real concept art before making the game, because the engine was just me. I was born in the dirt and molded by it, so to speak. I hands on the ground immediately, started in RPG Maker.
That's
and I
hilarious.
pretty much did all my work there. So yeah, that's very much a comfort zone.
Okay, I dig it. Using RPG Maker, starting with it as being born in the dirt.
Yeah.
And is there any particular reason you gravitated toward game development?
I mean, I'd like really liked games all my life, yada yada, whatever. But I think gaming's just like really interactive, right? It's there's a science and art to it. Movies, you kind of just watch and you interact it via like metacognition and like thinking about thinking and stuff.
Right.
TV show, kind of similar thing. Music, time. But with games, you have to incorporate like every single art form you can really think of, and even more, right, into this one kind of thing. So that's a really like unique chance for stuff there. And it's why I'm really like entranced in it right now. I still do big detail drawings and stuff like that, but I would be lying if I said that making a game didn't totally shift my view of it kind of shifted my sense of accomplishment, of like completion, right? Completing a game feels like so much more than finishing a big drawing right now for me. There's just a lot more that goes into it, and I can share it with more people. And I got a community from like a lot of my drawings and illustrations, but I think the community that I've gotten from games is a lot larger, a lot more kind of just, I don't know, more, it feels more communal, more discussion based, more discussion can be had around it.
That's interesting.
So
yeah. So
yeah, I
you've
enjoy
built a
games
stronger
to me.
community, stronger discussion around your games, and thus it feels a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, games just feel a lot more approachable to a lot of people, and there's stuff that I can still learn from it. I can always learn more from drawing, but like I said, when I draw, it's more like being a scribe for a world that kind of just exists elsewhere. When I'm playing a game, or sorry, when I do make a game, I have to deal with real life circumstances like people having to press a certain button at a certain time, or how does someone interact with that sort of thing. You know, a game can break, a game can um, totally just, I don't know, it can totally ruin someone's day, if you're playing like a
Mm-hmm.
MOBA or something like that, right?
Right,
But
sure. Yeah.
there's just a lot to it that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I like making them a lot.
Huh. Yeah. So even despite this, there's less immediacy to games idea, or making games.
Mm.
You enjoy it more because because of the interactive elements, because of the community it makes. Uh, that's so cool.
Yeah, more pieces. There's a lot more of me to put into a game than an
Oh, I see.
illustration even.
Right. Okay. More opportunities for self-expression. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In so many
Yeah.
ways.
That's awesome. Final question from Muffy Bunny. Will there ever be cute merch of the game? Stuff like stickers, pins, or even plushies?
Uh, Honestly, stickers, pins, plushies, I love to make all of it. I I would hope there's some in the future. If there is, I'll put it in my store and I'll tell everyone about it. But
Nice.
for now, I am just focusing on making the content itself. If
That
any
makes sense.
little company ever wants to reach out and make something, totally just email me about it. I can totally make stickers and pins and plushies and whatnot, but I'm really just kind of working on the games for now
Right, that makes
and the
sense.
comics.
Yeah, definitely let me know if you ever restock those playing cards. Those are very cool.
Oh no,
Uh,
those are done. Those are done.
those are done.
That was
Ah!
one run. I'm sorry.
Alas,
Thank you for being
alas.
interested, but no, that was one run. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a total pleasure. You've had so many insightful answers to these questions. Um, I'd like to give you an opportunity now. Like, is there anything you'd like to shout out? Any people? Um,
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my super tester, Egg, for really playing the game a ton. I mean, I think everyone who plays the game a ton, right? I think the community in general has been really going at it, or at least when the game initially came out, they really went at it. Thank you, everyone who posted like full 100% achievements. I did not expect that from, I mean, anyone at all, but they keep doing it, and I really appreciate it. I want to thank Lintillion for the music that they've been doing, and Crazy Goji for stepping in and really kind of just becoming part of the music team now. I'd like to thank Zach for kind of managing the community for the most part. It's really their Discord, not mine. I just make stuff and post it in there. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I want to thank anyone who gives me stuff to look at. Really, everything I see through my eyes is like worth looking at, I think. So yeah, and
lots of
thanks
great
to you.
fan art. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you to all fan art. I love the fan art so much. I keep a little folder of it. I try to save as much as I can, by the way. So
Cool. Well, Cam, like I said, an honor and a privilege. Thanks so much for being here on the Electric Airship podcast. Uh, guys, remember to follow Cam Collins on social media. All the links will be in the
yeah,
description. Check out, Copper Odyssey 2 on Steam or Itch. And yeah, just have a wonderful day.
thank you.